are talking about House of Dust, which is also going to be released as The Haunting of Reading Hospital on a 2019 release here in the UK. However, it is actually a 2013 movie, originally called House of Dust. This one is directed by A.D. Calvo, and it stars Inbar Lavi as the kind of our main sort of character. The only kind of actress I recognised from this there was Holland Roden, I believe her name is. You may recognise her from the Teen Wolf TV show. Anyway, what's the story here? So we have a prologue in the 50s where there is an asylum where, you know, the patients are somewhat mistreated. There seems to be a doctor here being somewhat evasive of his surgery, shall we say. And we have a particularly bad psycho who looks like he's going to be experimented on. And we have a little bit of a scuffle. This kind of like patient gets loose, kills the doctor, kills the patient, and then is kind of killed himself by some orderlies. And then all the bodies are kind of disposed of in this big furnace. And then their ashy remains are put on this kind of shelf along with a bunch of other ones. Cut to modern times. And now this kind of facility is abandoned. It's all kind of vacant. There's nothing in there. But what we have next to it is a university, like a med school. And it focuses on a group of med students, in particular this one girl who's just starting at this university, who seems to have some sort of psychic connection, although it's never really expanded upon, to be fair, to this hospital. And inevitably they decide they're going to go and party in this abandoned hospital at one point. And they come across this furnace room, and you know, teenagers being teenagers, you know what they're like. They make a mess, they knock this shelving unit over, and all these kind of jars and vials of ash kind of spills out, and they breathe it in. And each one of them that was there, you know, breathes in these kind of like ashy remains and kind of takes on personality traits of whoever it is that they breathed in. Pretty grim, eh? The only one that isn't affected is this kind of our main girl, who happens to be away from that area at the time because she kind of like wanders off. And she's being followed by this kind of ghost, this main psycho that we kind of see at the beginning. Anyway, they go out the kind of asylum and back to kind of university, and they seem to sort of take on the personalities and the kind of the characteristics of these whoever it is that they've kind of breathed in. For example, we've got one guy who's like a real slob, becomes very super OCD. For example, we've got another girl who, you know, becomes very childlike and innocent. And it's up to the only person who isn't affected is this original girl, played by Inbar Lavi, to try and find out what the hell is going on. So let's talk about House of Dust, aka The Haunting of Reading Hospital. I really liked the setup of this film. I actually thought this was a good idea, having these kind of guys become kind of possessed, but giving you a delivery method of that. I actually thought that was a really fun idea. Actually, I think on a technical scale, this movie is very well shot. I feel it's got good lighting, good camera work, good sound design, so it's proficiently made at a professional level. I think the acting is pretty good. A special shout out really to our main actor, our male lead, who is the guy who takes a kind of romantic interest in the female lead. And what I liked about his character was, you know, he kind of breathes in this dust of this kind of bad psycho guy. But I felt his acting between his kind of regular kind of college persona versus the psychotic side of him was very good, because they both seemed believable. So I thought he was the acting standout for me. But no one does a bad job in regard to acting. I think everyone here is, you know, okay in regard to the acting. Yeah, we're not talking Oscar worthy or anything like that, but you know, a good level what you would expect to see in a, you know, somewhat professionally made film. So that was pretty good. And I actually really like the interior shots of when we go into the kind of the asylum. I thought that it looks very kind of run down. The location shooting that they've obviously done here looks very effective. And even the exteriors, where we see all the kind of the overgrown vines all over this kind of asylum, looks great. So, what does not work with this movie? Sadly, the majority of this movie does not take place in the asylum. Now, on one hand, I would say, you could argue that a lot of these movies all end up the same thing. People get trapped in the asylum. So this one does do something different. So there, I appreciate that. However, the product of that is that it's less interesting, because the bulk of the film is just around this college campus, where these guys are taking on their personas of these various kind of patients that were previously there who have been burnt in this furnace and their ashes kind of put up that they breathed in. And it just doesn't become scary. It's just not a spooky atmosphere. And although I think some of the acting is good, and it's kind of an interesting and original way to go, when we do see supernatural stuff happen on screen, it just isn't done to a particularly good level, kind of like a level in regards to any type of scares. So we have these kind of guys just acting kind of mad. Yeah, it's a good idea, but it's not really particularly scary or anyway. And then when we do see apparitions and ghosts, there's, for example, we have this kind of the spirit of this our main kind of psycho that we see at the beginning of the film, following this kind of our main female lead around. He just looks like some dude. He doesn't look like ethereal at all. And there's even a section where he's picking her up, and I don't know, it just doesn't. It's just not particularly scary. And you can really poke holes in the logic of this one. I mean, why would you have this abandoned building, a vacant salon right next to a university? Why is there the remains of people who have been built on a furnace still there after kind of 50 years? Things like this. There are plot points that seemingly don't go anywhere. Our main character, it kind of is hinted that she has some type of psychic connection to this hospital, but that plot thread never really goes anywhere. She just does, and that's it. There's no real reason for it. It doesn't have any history there, it appears, or anything like that. And there's also kind of a subplot with this kind of like creepy security guard, and again, it's kind of set up that he's got maybe something to do with it, but it doesn't go anywhere. It just doesn't, you know. So, I mean, again, you could argue, they're red herrings. They're meant to be kind of to try and throw you off the scent, but you know, it just feels like padding the running time, to be quite honest. So, although I thought this movie is effectively set up for a good idea, the execution of it just becomes workmanlike. I don't think it's a bad film, but it just becomes somewhat humdrum. After the initial kind of the setup, and it's a decent setup, and we have that kind of, okay, here's the status quo. They've all been somehow affected or infected almost by this ghostly dust. Let's see where the story takes us, and that's the point where the film becomes a little bit uninteresting. The visuals aren't as good. We're not in a spooky atmosphere. You don't really feel like it's kind of going anywhere, or the plot points quite make kind of sense. These ghosts seem to appear to people outside of the group, and you think, well, why? You know, how come they're doing that? These people weren't in the hospital. They didn't breathe in dust. How come they're affected? So there's a few kind of like plot holes here, but it's still well made to a point, well acted to a point, and does have a good idea. So I will give it a 5 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment, and I shall look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.